Okay. I will call to order the March 13th, 2024 regular board meeting for the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors. I am not your chair, obviously, but I am playing one tonight because unfortunately Joe is ill. I would like to start with our native lands acknowledgement, which I think is, as everyone in this room knows, but I think it's important to note, is to acknowledge someone is to say, I see you and you are significant. So COCC would like to acknowledge that the beautiful land our campuses reside on are the original homelands of the Wasco and Warm Springs people. They ceded this land to the US government in the Treaty of 1855. The Paiute people were forcibly moved to the Warm Springs Indian Reservation starting in 1879. It's also important to note that the Klamath Trail ran north through this region to the Great Celilo Falls trading grounds. Descendants of these original people are thriving members of our communities today. We acknowledge and thank the original stewards of this land. May we have a roll call, please?
Laura Kraska Cooper.
Here.
Erica Scaffold is outside. Aaron Murr. Here. Aaron Foote Morgan. Here. Is Alan Humbert not joining us today?
No, he's not.
Okay, thank you. And Jim Porter. Erica, now call roll for you.
Oh, I'm here. I'm here. I'll be right back.
Lori
Sorry.
Chesley.
Here.
Alicia Moore.
Here.
Laura Bowie.
Yes,
Michael Lalonde.
Here.
Anne Marie Hamlin.
Here.
Zach Boone.
Present.
Sean Tevlin.
Here.
Kyle Matthews.
Here.
Paul Taylor.
Here.
And Jen Kovic. That is the roll.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Okay, agenda changes. I know that Aaron has asked that we put a discussion of Lapine on the agenda. So I'm going to recommend that we put it number 3 under new business. Is that okay with everyone? Any objections? Any other changes to the agenda? Noting none, we will move to public comments. Jen, do we have any? Okay, no public comments. So that brings us to the consent agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes of the February 14th meeting? Yeah. Any corrections or changes? None? Okay, I'm going to wait to vote on that until Erica is back because I'm going to abstain because I was not at the February meeting and we do not have a quorum to vote for that. So, I mean, I think technically we could because we have a quorum, but I'm gonna wait if you guys don't have any objection. Okay, so that brings us to information items, and our first item is monthly budget status, and Michael's available if anybody's got questions or comments. None? Michael, anything you want to share with that?
There is not. I mean, just,
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to, in light of the agenda item that we have in a little bit, notice the investment that we have right now, pretty significant, so.
Okay, thank you. New hire report. Anyone have anything for Laura? Noting none. Marketing and public relations update. I believe this is a presentation item with Jen.
It is, yes. So I'm going to share. Screen. All right, so I'm always grateful for the opportunity to speak with you all and give you an update, and especially because we have 3 board members who've started with us in the last year. Some of this will be a recap, and some of this will be new. So I'll try not to take too much of your time. One of the things that Lori asked me to do is to frame our work in marketing and public relations through the lens of the strategic plan. And so I picked 3 goals that I thought we could speak to how our work is supporting. So tonight I'll focus on access, community engagement, and student-ready college as the 3 goals we're supporting. So with access, something, you may remember is that, starting in July of 2021, the college changed how we were doing digital marketing. So prior to July 2021, we would have, sort of short bursts of digital marketing campaigns. A paid search or a paid social media would come on for a specific message, a call to action, and turn off. And what we realized is that not only to be top of mind all the time, but to reach all parts of our district equitably and equally, we needed to be on 24/7 year round. So thanks to pooling resources with the advancement budget and with the admissions and recruitment budget and our own budget, we were able to increase our digital marketing spend so that we are always running paid Google and Bing ads, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now TikTok all of the time. And those are running equally in all of the zip codes that we serve. But we also know that many of our students, as well as the people who support our students, are not online or not able to be online consistently. So we continue to leverage multiple modalities, and that looks different depending on where in our district we are. So for example, every morning, KWSO, our radio station at Warm Springs, the college is the underwriter for the community calendar. And that's because we learned that, especially where you can't get internet, the radio community calendar is one of the most important resources. The radio community calendar is one of the most important resources for the Warm Springs community. So every morning at 9 a.m., there's a COCC message that we customize for that audience, and then they hear about the community calendar for that day. We do paid radio interviews on KSJJ and KBND, and we build a sponsored content editorial calendar so that we know several months in advance, who are we going to have on the radio to talk about Meal of the Year, or to talk about the scholarships opening, or to talk about our nursing information sessions. You might have seen some of our sponsored content articles in newspapers, Central Oregonian, Madras Pioneer, Benton Bulletin, and the Redmond Spokesman. We have billboard signage. We just launched a new campaign, Enroll in Your Future, both in English and in Spanish. And we've been running bilingual billboards for 2 years from South Deschutes County all the way to Warm Springs. We continue to do direct mail, specifically through COCC magazine. It's hitting your mailboxes in 2 weeks, and it has my favorite cover ever, so I can't wait for you to see it. Just continuing to try to understand that our audiences are diverse. They find out about things happening in their community, but they also build trust with things happening in their community in different ways. So we need to be there. And then,
Jen, I think, can I make one point that I think is really important for our new board members to know, which is that a few years ago, we looked at, as part of our DEIB efforts, we looked at ways to better serve our, I'm going to say this wrong, and I apologize. I don't know if it's our Latinx community or if we say our, yeah, okay. And the recognition was that many of their parents are involved in the decisions to go to community college or to any college, and many of them don't speak English. And so by having our key content in Spanish, we're giving more of those students an opportunity because their parents can see and read and understand. So we translated some of the pages on our website into Spanish. And then these billboards, I think this is great. So I just wanted to say I think it's one of the efforts that we've continued to make, and I think it's really wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, and we're very thoughtful about where we put the Spanish language billboards. So we do some research demographically across the district to understand not just where our Spanish language speakers live, but also where they work. And so that informs where we place those billboards. Another way that we partner with advancement is to make some strategic sponsorships. So Winter Pride Fest last weekend was sponsored by COCC. The EDCO Pub Talk series, the Ready Annual Luncheon, the SLED Annual Luncheon, the Bend YP Summit. These are the kinds of places where it makes sense for the college to sponsor, and we do that work through the advancement budget specifically. We're also members of all of the local chambers in our district as well. And sometimes they'll come to us with different opportunities, and we'll try to support them beyond just our membership dues. There we go. So for those of you who were on the board a year and a half ago, you might recall that we had a constituent in Crook County who stopped receiving their print community education catalog. And we had a conversation about the decision to stop printing a quarterly community education course catalog. And I thought, well, it's time for an update. So let's talk about that. And Cynthia, I'm so glad you're here. In case you had any questions that I can answer. In summer of 22, we rebranded continuing education as community education. We separated personal enrichment, and I say we as the college, not we as NPR. Separated personal enrichment from workforce development. Now you know them as community education and the Center for Business, Industry, and Professional Development. And our incredible team at community education, they started to really dig into evaluating and revitalizing their programming. And about 3 months later, my team came to the recommendation that we needed to stop mailing a quarterly print course catalog for our personal enrichment. And there were several reasons why, but to send 4 of these a year to just 66% of our district was $90,000 a year. And as you can imagine, instructors get sick, things happen. And so between the time that we mailed it and it landed in people's mailboxes, it was already incorrect and out of date. So we moved to a more diversified marketing strategy, which was a big shift because this was one of the legacy pieces that this college had committed to for many, many years. So what does that diversified marketing look like? It looks like another separate comprehensive digital campaign. So for just community education, we are running digital ads, paid search, paid social, 24/7, year-long in district. We're also still doing direct mail. We're doing twice annual bifolds that arrive to 100% of households now in the district. They link you and direct you to going online where our course catalog is always up to date. And that means that we can program in real time. So when our program director, Stephanie, fills a culinary class, instead of it being full and we can't do anything about it, we just add another one and fill that one too. And we can do it in real time because we're not beholden to the publication schedule of the course catalog. We do an annual postcard mailing to our youth camps. And so we pull all of the households that have students in middle school and the first year of high school from our school district partners. They give us that information. And so we send to 100% of those households. And then you might have seen these community education posters around, again, district wide, and we partner with the source and then with partners in Crook and Jefferson County to make sure that they're getting all over the place. Okay, but what happened, right? Did we make the right choice? So these are the numbers that Stephanie Getch shared with me, and I think they speak to the success of what community education is doing programmatically and how we're supporting them. So you can see that they scheduled more classes in fall of 23 than they did in fall of 24, but they canceled fewer of them, which meant that they were able to fill more classes with more people. And so the total enrollment for community education went up. And so this was the first year, full year, after we've stopped mailing the course catalog, and we've seen enrollment go up.
Oh, yeah, it's better. Cancellation rates for winter are 16%. So we don't just have that now.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's really good. The numbers are up. Yeah, classes
So
are,
cancellation rate means a student who enrolled
no.
cancel means the class is canceled.
Cancel means there weren't enough students in it for the class to go.
Okay,
Because there has to be a minimum number of students in order for us to be able to afford to do that. So if that doesn't hit that criteria that's set, then the class gets canceled. And maybe the students going to a different class or they refund their money back or whatever. But those cancellation rates are really important because what that says is that our programming is working, the marketing is working because our classes are not getting canceled.
Yeah, and Stephanie, who runs the community education team, is very rigorous and wouldn't let me share her numbers with you yet. The winter's not over yet.
It is really good.
They're really good, yeah.
Jen, I would be interested in seeing the numbers pre-pandemic, Because I think 2022 was probably not, it's probably not a fair comparison because we were just. People were just starting to feel like the pandemic was over and there were still people who were nervous about taking classes and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure 22 to 23 is totally an accurate comparison.
Yeah,
So I'd be really curious to see like 2019 maybe. And then I'll be really curious to see going forward in the, future years.
those are fairly.
You know, we're happy to do that, so don't get me wrong. There was also a completely different structure, organizational structure, where
Oh.
two departments were together.
That's true.
And I'm not saying
So
they
it's
can't disaggregate, but I'm seeing,
Well, I'm not trying to create a bunch of work.
but I just want, there was one leader of both those things.
Right,
And
Yeah.
I think maybe fewer employees, or I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
But we're happy to do that.
if it's like, if it's gonna be difficult to disaggregate, then don't worry about it, but if it's not difficult, I'd be curious to.
Yeah.
To see it.
Absolutely. Okay, and then the work that we do through the goal of Student Ready College. So we have been working on redesigning every academic discipline's web pages since 2021. And we've done 25 disciplines to date. We'll have 8 additional disciplines online by June of this year, which means we only have 9 to go, which is remarkable. And so, we really took the lens that these should be marketing pages aimed at prospective students. And so that's the work that we've been doing for each one. And, you might be thinking, well, aren't we moving to guided pathways to educational pathways? What happens then? The good news is we've known this work is coming. And so from a back end perspective, we're ready. And the pages were always designed so that when educational pathways turn on, the pages don't have to change. They'll just move into a different information architecture in the website, which is really good news. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Again, how do we know this is working? That request info button is an enlarged version of something we put on every discipline's web page. We also have that button on our home page and on our future students page that we aim at, again, at our recruits. Since we started this project, a full 33% of prospective student leads happen through the discipline specific web pages, which means that before we did this work, we were missing 33% of our potential leads because students weren't able to go to the thing that they were interested in and get hooked and get connected that way. So when students click on that button, they get a fully customized response based on who they have, which discipline they're emailing. So if they click on request for information in the aviation web pages, their information will get logged in our general CRM, our database, but they will receive an email back from the program director of the aviation discipline with aviation specific information and links. And then if that student clicks reply, the email will go to the program director. So it's immediately customized to their interest. But on the other hand, now they're in our system and they're going to start getting emails from us about housing and scholarships and financial aid. So it's been a huge lead generator for us, but it's also let us really customize how we're talking to our students based on what they actually want to learn. And then, I want to call out that our web designer, John Moore, has prioritized several other web page areas that really align with students' needs and helping them achieve their goals and to integrating video whenever possible. So we completely redesigned the financial aid, the future students, and the on-campus housing because we knew that those were one, where a lot of our potential student traffic was going, but also those were the places where if we didn't meet student need and meet their expectations and give them a strong user experience, we risked losing them. And so they were these kind of enrollment holes, so to speak, for us. So we updated these, and I want to shout out John because last fall he won a National Council of Marketing and Public Relations award for his housing webpage. I just want to share with you a few things that we did. So when you land, you immediately get to click on a video that shows you a little bit about what you can expect to live in Wikia. We did a bunch of user surveys and looked at traffic and realized that, no surprise, rates, plans, and dates, speaking of things that parents want to know about, was the most visited page. So we stopped burying that information and we made it really clear and available. And then we put the call to action, the thing we want to do first and foremost. So I'm not going to belabor too much in this. I hope you'll come around more, but you know, we watched housing numbers change as a result in terms of the number of people and when in the enrollment cycle for housing they were signing up. It just changed, and it changed in part as a result of this redesign. So I'm really proud of that work. Then just a couple of things that are coming down the pike for us. Pike, I don't know. We are about to hire a 0.5 FTE digital content creator and editor. This person is going to be making Instagram reels and YouTube content, and perhaps TikTok. We'll see how long it stays legal. But we see an average of over 75% improvement in engagement metrics when we run video content versus still photo content. And we know that the videos on those academic program pages are getting hundreds of views just in the short amount of time that we've had them. So the college is helping us invest in video, and I'm really grateful for that. We're having incredible collaboration between academic affairs, disability services, e-learning, ITS, marketing and public relations, to information share and best practice share on ADA best practices. The ADA law is changing to involve more digital content requirements. And I'm so proud of the ways in which all those teams are collaborating to do this work with those forthcoming DOJ requirements. The college leadership has also approved a comprehensive website redesign, which, as some of you may know, is a huge lift. We've got a great team assigned to it, and I'm looking forward to beginning that extensive work. And I just want to shout out that, you know, I believe it was either in 2018 or 2019 when this college made a commitment to move to an advancement model, where, you know, marketing and public relations reports up through Zach, where storytelling is housed in one place for many different reasons. And I just want to thank the board and the college for that, because it's working. And I'm proud to be a part of it. And in case you want to see who's doing all this work with me, my team loves Halloween, and this is the brand team were brands this Halloween. So
That's great.
thank you so much. Any questions?
Jen, I have one comment that I just want to make, because I think sometimes we are always worrying about what we need to improve, and we don't necessarily stop and sort of say, hey, wow, that's pretty cool, we did it. When I joined the board in the fall of 2012, one of the issues we had was what we referred to as silos. The various departments didn't necessarily work together, just because, I mean, there's lots of reasons, right? But we made a conscious effort at the college, again, not me, you know, to say we all need to be working together, because there are ways where we can learn from each other. There are ways where we might be inconsistent that presents a bad experience for members of the public or our students. And the fact that you were talking about working together with so many different folks to make sure that we're doing this right, and that we're considering a lot of different angles and everything, that just does my heart good. So very cool.
Thanks for answering that one.
Yeah, congrats, Jenna. I just want to say thank you, and having been in your shoes to some degree at a university and knowing just like that shift of mindset from serving the prospective student or top of mind is such an awesome change, and I think the result is really great. I have one question. You talked about covering more of the district in a more equitable manner, in a more kind of constant pace. Do you split that up though based on like population and like web traffic and that sort of thing? Or is it?
We don't right now, and we don't geofence or anything like where we can target people based in where they are in specific areas, specific times. We've tried, I mean, I think it's a matter of like how much we're spending with our agency partner here in town. But also it didn't feel like our students move around, and their families move around. And so we just have been, it's every zip code, and it's not, it's really, it's a volume served, and it's not like if, Gilchrist is suddenly clicking a lot, they get more, it's consistent. Yeah.
It's awesome, Jen.
Thank you.
Super
Great
great
presentation. Thank you.
And this is like a sliver. Sorry.
Just-
I'll be-
yeah,
Okay,
like,
great.
I'll be in
I got a
that.
sliver version.
Yeah.
It's a lot more.
Yeah, we appreciate you for your efficiency. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the grants update from Sean Devlin, and Lori tells me he's online, and I'm really bad at seeing who's online, so.
Sean will, he was magically appear. Watch this. 1, 2, there he is.
Turn it over to you.
You're on mute. You're muted.
Ah, so good. It was so good.
Yes, hi, everybody. Anyway, yeah, sorry, I have been sick all week, so thank you for letting me do this virtually. I'm not at the very top of my game right now, but gonna do my best. But good to see you all. I'm gonna share my screen here.
And Sean, everyone has a copy of the handout in front of them already, so.
Okay, sounds good. And can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm Sean Tevlin. I'm the grants director for COCC and the COCC Foundation. So I'm going to do an overview of our 2023 year for grants. So I really want to showcase today how grants impact a really diverse set of college programs and also a really diverse geographic region. So our entire district is served by the grants we've been awarded in this past year. And I also want to say that all this grant work is a really heavy lift of the various people that are leading the grants, as well as our fiscal team and other administrative people, and it really couldn't be done without them. So it's a real lift on a lot of people at the college. So thank you for everyone that's been involved in these lots of grants we've gotten this past year. So Zach gave you a printed version of the annual report, which I want you all to take a look at later on, share with people when you can. Today, I'm going to go through our kind of online version and just give you kind of a highlight and a tour of the different grants that we've received in this past year. So with that, I will jump right into it. So yeah, in this past year, so it was a big year for grants. So $16 million in total grant funds managed at the college, $8.5 million in new grants awarded, 60 total different projects managed, 40 new projects, and 44 different funders. So a very big year for grants. And like I said, these were across all different departments at the college and all across the COCC district as well. And as you can see here, grant funding has grown substantially. It's basically doubled in the past over the past 3 years. So the reason that it's gone up so much, there's 3 main reasons. First of all is major initiatives like the Matrix expansion have taken place, which has opened us up to new funders. Several large federal grants have been awarded. And also there's just been more and more interest from faculty and staff in pursuing grants. So there's been a grant seeking culture is being built at COCC. And as I alluded to earlier, so we've had 44 different funders in this past year. So these range from small family foundations to large federal agencies. And overall last year, 20% of funding came from private sources, 37% from state sources, 42% from federal, and 1% from local government. That federal funding piece, that 42%, that's the part that's probably not going to be normal every year. And that's because of some really large federal grants we've received. So yeah, quite the impressive list of funders here. So now I'm just going to take you on a short little tour around the region. So starting out, we'll start down in Madras. So everyone knows about the Madras expansion project. This has really been the first year of full fundraising. So in this past year, we received 2 major grants totaling $1.5 million. Many more applications are out there and to be decided in this next year, but 2023 was really the first year, got some big grants under our belt, and this project is well underway, as you all know. Staying in Madras, we'll go over, talk about solar energy. So we were awarded $70,000 from the Oregon Department of Energy to install solar panels at the existing Madras campus. That's going to be enough power to power the entire campus. And then once the new campus opens, we'll have the opportunity to expand that solar array as well. One more project in Madras, another very cool project, is increasing diversity in COCC science programs. So COCC science programs are less diverse than the COCC as a whole, and underrepresented students in these programs have lower course success rates than their peers. So to address this, Science has received $60,000 from 4 private funders to run a pilot program, which includes a couple elements, such as bringing in rural middle school students, mostly from Jefferson County so far, bring them into COCC 3 times a year, do hands-on science activities, meet faculty, overall get used to knowing what it's like to be on a college campus. For a lot of these students, they've never been on a college campus before, so it's an eye-opening experience. They are also running a college bridge program, which is going to bring in incoming COCC students to do research projects, hands-on science activities, field trips, etc. Just prepare them for success in college and success in college level science. So that is a very cool project. Any questions so far? All right, I'll keep going. Moving up to Bend, expanding services for student veterans. So we received 2 grants totaling $700,000. For this project, one from the state, one from the federal government. The federal government, with their grant, designated COCC as a center of excellence for veteran student success, which is a very high honor, which is only designated to one other Oregon college in the last 20 years. So it's a very high honor for COCC. Funding is going to do a lot of different things, expanding veteran supports, expanding the Veterans Resource Center, a whole host of other activities to support our student veterans. And as you all probably know, we have one of the highest veteran enrollments in the state out of any college. So this is going to have a huge impact on a lot of our students. Staying in Bend, I think another one that you all have heard about probably is growing electric vehicle technician workforce. This was a $3 million grant from the National Science Foundation, basically going to help COCC lead the process for 15 other community colleges around the nation to develop and implement EV technician training programs like the one COCC has. So putting COCC in that mentor role. And one more project in Bend to highlight, food bank expansion. And this project kind of shows the diversity of COCC grants. So we go from electric vehicle technician training, now we're over to the food bank expansion, just a whole host of different programs and projects funded through grants. This one is $125,000 over 5 years from the Central Oregon Health Council, just to keep expanding the food bank to keep up with the increased demand we're seeing from students. On from Bend, now out to Prineville. So this next one is expanding youth programs in rural areas. So community education received $60,000 from Marie Lampham Charitable Foundation and the Roundhouse Foundation to basically implement free summer youth programming in rural areas. So with this funding, 161 rural youth attended camps last summer at no cost. Staying out in Prineville, small business advising for rural areas. So this is a $15,000 grant from the U.S. Bank Foundation to continue expanding our rural focused business advising at the SBDC. And this is the 3rd year that U.S. Bank has provided this funding. And they've bumped the funding up from $10K a year now up to $15K a year. And it just really allows the SBDC to have a broader reach outside of just Bend and Redmond. So those are a couple Prineville projects. Next stop is Redmond. So you probably all have heard about these programs, college preparation for Latino and Native American students. They received $80,000 from the Oregon Department of Education and the Central Oregon Health Council the continued operation of these culturally specific college preparation programs and summer symposiums. So the college preparation courses are taught in local high schools around the region, including several in Redmond high schools. And it's always important to note that the high school graduation rates and college going rates for students enrolled in these programs is much higher than their peers. So they've been very successful programs. They continue to bring in grant money all the time. So that is a Redmond project. Going just down the road back to Jefferson County, but this time in Culver, growing the Central Oregon educator workforce. So this is a $560,000 grant from the Oregon Department of Education through the Grow Your Own grant program. Basically, it's focused on training local residents to become teachers within their own communities. So COCC's project really focuses on increasing the diversity of students pursuing education degrees and helping those students succeed once they get into the COCC programs, eliminating all barriers whenever possible. So they target a lot of rural high schools and communities in general, including a large focus in Culver. This is the first time COCC has received this Grow Your Own grant, which is a very big deal for our early childhood education program. And the very last stop on the tour, we'll go down to Lapine. Scholarships for College Now courses. So $50,000 was awarded from the Higher Education Coordinating Committee to provide free College Now courses for high school students taking CTE College Now courses. So College Now, $25 per credit, not a lot, but it's a barrier for lots of low-income high school students and their families. So this allows us to pay for those courses for select CTE courses that are taught in schools such as Lapine High School, Madras High School, and other high schools all around Central Oregon. So that's the last project I'm going to highlight. There's many more in this online version. So this online version of the annual report is on our website. The print version is a more expansive version of it, basically. But yeah, amazing projects, amazing people to work with, people doing really, really cool things at COCC. And I think grants just allow people to do projects that they normally could never do. So it's been a great year, and I can't wait to see what happens this next year. So with that, I'm open to any questions or comments y'all have.
Hey, Sean, this is Zach. I'm gonna have you stop screen share for a sec. So can you talk a little bit about the tool you were just taking everyone through and how they can view that and share that with their constituents?
Yes. So if you go to the grants web here, I will do a new screen share.
It's really cool with you guys. There's a little bit of screen ratio aspect issue here, but when you do it on your phone or on your computer, as you go through, you'll see that map, Sean, and it takes you right to our campuses, and you can read about the project and click it for more info. So it's a pretty nice tool.
So this is our grants page. And if you can go to funded grants right here, this link will take you there. You can click funded grants over here. That'll take you there as well. And I apologize for was it coming out distorted, Zach?
It's just a smidge, Sean, but it's fine. It looked great. I just want folks to know how they can use it and share it out most of one day.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one other prompt for you, the NSF grant. So Sean started in 2022. Which is hard to believe, and it does feel like he's been here a long time. Because he knows when you're the grants coordinator, you have to meet everybody and know everything. But what I'd say, Sean, is that NSF grant started in prior grant scopes, right? I remember Mary Ann working on that with Ken. Melise worked on it with Ken. So talk a little bit about how long it took to deliver that NSF grant, because it's pretty transformative and what that might mean in your words, kind of for the program at the college.
Yeah, man, yeah, I worked with Ken May. You probably all know Ken May is the automotive faculty member. He met me the first day on the job, and yeah, we spent a good year developing his program. He's the automotive genius with amazing ideas, and he doesn't like to write though. So it's a good match, basically just interviewing him time and time again and just getting all his ideas onto paper where NSF can understand his vision, and he has an amazing vision. And yeah, I would say it's really propelled. I mean, I think he was already nationally known, or becoming nationally known for his work in the electric vehicle arena. And now that's, solidified with this grant. It's really, one of the biggest NSF electric vehicle grants that have been given out. And so he's just out there all across the country now helping other colleges. So it definitely increases COCC's visibility.
Pretty cool. And lastly, Sean, and I'll open it up to the board. I just looked at property here. So in the new hire report of the board packet, it looked like maybe there was someone added to our grant.
Yes, absolutely. So we just hired a grant specialist, Stephanie Rohde. Super lucky to have her on the team. She has a lot of nonprofit grant experience. So she is basically going to be doing the grant implementation side. So the way it's been working is that I help write the grants, I help develop the proposals, but once we get them, we hand it off to whoever's leading the project. And they get support from fiscal and from administrative staff, but they basically needed more support with the increase in grant funding and bigger, more complex projects coming online. We really needed someone who could just be dedicated to the implementation side. So Stephanie is doing that. She's been on the job for 3 weeks now, and it's already paying huge dividends. It's just basically allowing our faculty and staff who are leading these grants to just have support and have someone that can help with these complex processes. Because I will say at COCC, as opposed to like a university where there's these research professors who they are masters in grants, they know how to talk the talk and all that. We have teachers who teach. That's what they get paid to do. So getting a grant can be above and beyond what they're expected to do. So a lot of them need support. And so this allows them to focus on the good work of the project as opposed to like the weird grant administration tasks and stuff like that. So I think it's a really, really important hire for us.
Great. Thank you. I'll now yield the time to the actual board members.
Does anyone have comments or questions?
I just want to say, yeah, well done. So great to see the diversity of grants and the different funders, and for Madras especially, I think it's really encouraging. And it demonstrates the value of that project when we're getting so many grants toward it, and it only helps with additional fundraising efforts. So well done. Grant applications are extremely labor intensive, so it's great to see all this work.
Yeah, great job, Sean. This is really wonderful. I think this is something that maybe in the past we haven't tapped as much as we could have. And it's nice to see us being more aggressive and successful, frankly. Pretty impressive results. So great job.
Thank you. Yeah.
And just so because we don't want to totally wear out Sean, we just hired a grants
We just
You just covered all that.
Yes.
Sorry, Lori, I stole your thunder.
I was getting toys in my office. And the meetings, don't ask me why I have toys in my office. Pardon me.
It's all good.
Great bio.
It's all good. Okay, so now with Erica back, I want to move back for just a moment, and as long as no one's got an objection to the consent agenda and to consideration of approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes or the consent agenda? So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Aaron and seconded by Erica. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand. All those opposed, please indicate by raising your hand. Noting none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Oh, and I had to abstain, as I mentioned earlier, because I wasn't at the February meeting. Okay, thank you. So that brings us to old business, which is Michael and the reserve policy. And I think that everyone has reviewed it. This is the second reading. So this is the one where we actually need a motion and a second to approve it. Does anyone, before we do that, does anyone have any questions or concerns about it? If not, do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Thank you, Aaron. And seconded by, thank you, moved by Aaron and seconded by Jim. Is there any discussion? Noting none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed, please indicate by saying no. Noting none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to another Michael issue, because now we're under new business and we've got investment committee and charge. He was over there now.
So there is a charge in your packet, I believe, but I did put together a quick PowerPoint presentation on that charge and kind of the role and responsibility of an investment committee.
Yeah.
So briefly, the responsibilities of an investment committee would really be a second set of eyes around things like our investment policy, our investment allocation, internal controls related to investments, which I presented to the board a while ago. Help us monitor and evaluate the performance, not only of the college's investments, but if we hire somebody to help us with those investments. Review and approve the college's investment portfolio and asset allocation, which we really don't currently have, but they can help us with that. And ensure compliance with legal and regulatory issues. That's okay. The structure I'm proposing is to have 3-member committee. 2 of the committee members would be an experienced financial professional. One would be a member of the board. They would meet quarterly. And then the board would be appointed for a 2-year term, including an appointment by this board of the chairman of the committee. Make sense? So why did I pick 2 years? I haven't.
Why do we pick 3 people?
Good number.
Okay.
It's an odd number. It could be 3 to 5, but. And really the pros and cons, let's talk about the pros first. It would be really helpful if I had a group of people that are experienced to bounce ideas off of. I've had a number of banks come to the college, suggest different investments. I've actually opened up 2 accounts, which I haven't used so far. Partially because, you know, to transfer $10-20 million to another institution, it's just something that I would like cover for, and somebody to agree with it, right? And I mean, to be honest, so we would transfer large balances to the big investments we want to make. There would be a formal documentation of it, therefore increased accountability and another internal control layer. So the cons, there's not very many. So trying to find experts in very conservative investment items is not easy. Usually they're investing in stocks, bonds, and being really more aggressive. But our policy is so tight as required by the state of Oregon. You know, it's basically treasuries, you know, a couple other investments that you can make, but not very many. So it might be hard to find somebody like that. It's going to be slower. It's another board committee, and I know you have one going already. And then organizing meeting times. So those are the only cons I think.
Would the cadence of meetings be as needed or?
I have it as quarterly right now, and I think that's the right cadence, but if something happens, like right now, nobody knows what interest rates are going to do. And they could drop pretty quickly. Some people that have to invest money like we do, they're thinking about investing longer term. And so say you go out 5 years and you're going to get a lower return than you would in short-term investments, but over the long term, that might make more sense for the college.
I am an enthusiastic supporter of this. I think it's a fabulous idea.
Too enthusiastic will be on it.
Pardon?
If you're too enthusiastic. you'll be on
No, actually, I want to be on it.
Good.
But what
I think it's wonderful and yes, I would want to be on a committee like this too. It's a fabulous addition, I think.
Yeah, the internal control aspect
Yeah,
of it's
it's great.
important.
Yeah.
Not that I don't trust you, but
Mhm.
Okay, well, do we have a motion to approve?
make a motion.
Okay. Do we have a second? All right, moved by Jen, seconded by Aaron. Any discussion?
Real quick, I guess, real quick, Laura, will we need to develop like policies at the board policy committee around something like this?
I don't think so. I think that,
They'll define their own charge and kind of write their own language. Do we need to adopt it?
so. It's a good question. We should discuss it at the policy review committee.
Okay.
But I think you've generally outlined what it would look like. So I think we're approving it as Michael has outlined it, and we can discuss whether we think we need additional policies related to it, or you might have suggestions. Or you might say, I don't think we really need anything else, or maybe we let it go for a little while and see how it works.
Maybe what I was planning to do is go out and find some potential financial professionals that would agree to be on the committee, submit it to the board for approval. Then you could pick the board member to be a part of the committee.
Okay.
And then maybe the committee reviews the charge and then recommends it to.
The
The
policy
board,
review
yeah.
committee. I like that
It's
idea.
not a board committee, it's a committee of board members.
Okay.
So
Good
that's the
clarification.
difference.
Yes, yes.
Wait,
Okay.
say that again?
I thought it
It's
was-
not a board committee.
It's a committee a board member sits on.
Is it one or two
Well,
board members?
Actually, I think it is a board committee, right? Because financial oversight is our responsibility and we're setting it up. We're just saying, so at least initially, it'll only have one. Our committees, our board committees do not have to be comprised of just board members.
Right, I know that.
I mean,
I
guess
don't,
it's
but I don't know
kind of-
that it states that it's a board committee.
It just says the investment committee, just like the real estate committee.
Oh.
Or
Okay.
the audit committee
Okay.
or, yeah.
Budget committee.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Because that's prescribed. Yeah. Any further discussion? No?
I just wanna, I know we've said it before, but Michael, it's been awesome. All of the suggestions, I feel like you've brought, it's just. And it wasn't here before, but they just feel so right on for. For the college. Yes, for your leadership.
Fresh new ideas. Way to go,
Yeah,
Michael.
really professional and.
Yeah, I'm really well done.
Thoughtful and just, and, yeah, I would concur. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand.
I,
Any opposed, please indicate by saying no or raising your hand. Noting none, motion carries unanimously.
Thank
Thank you, Michael. Great job. And you are up again on the auditors.
Okay, so last year we went out to bid for external auditors and we only had one response and it was twice the amount we had previously paid. They were not local, so we called it a failed search. So luckily, we were able to go back to Price Prong and ask that who did not bid because they didn't think they had the manpower to do all of it. And asked them if they would do it anyway. We would try to make it easier for them so they'd have to work less hours. So they agreed to do that. You saw the audit report and everything that they completed. And now because we had the failed RFP, we can extend our relationship with them for another 5 years. So I'm asking for you to approve for us to use them for the next 5 years and to formally appoint them as the external auditors as is required by the board policy.
Michael, how many years have we been working with them?
I think it's 6.
I do know that it's sort of best practice to change auditors periodically because different auditors notice different things. How do you feel about 11 years with the same auditor? And
Is it 11?
don't get me wrong, they've done a good job.
Is it 11? I'm sorry, I said 6 earlier.
Yeah, and we would be doing 5 more years. That would be 11 years.
You know, because they change staff members so
Oh.
frequently and they rotate quite a bit and people leave the firm.
It's
and
not
other
the same people
join
doing
that,
it.
It's not the same people. You do have a partner who has been involved in the job for a while. They're required to rotate as well periodically by accounting standards. But even then, you have a second partner at their firm to review all of the partner's work that's on the job. So there's a lot of oversight. I would say at some time it makes sense, but right now it's hard to find them.
Yeah, we're experiencing that in another nonprofit I'm with. It's just almost impossible finding leaders.
Interesting, why?
There's a shortage of accountants.
And they're,
National.
and they're super costly for nonprofits.
Yeah.
And
That's
there are very few people who will even respond to the bid. We have the same problem with the CSC Foundation. And interestingly, funders and donors are actually asking for those automated financials less frequently. So we get fewer requests for them than ever. The college has to have it. The foundation, the 501(c)(3)s, it's a best practice, but they're not required.
Do we have a motion? Okay, you move to approve the.
Yeah, do you
extension
read
of the-
it?
You can, you don't have to, you can.
Okay. Okay, so be it resolved that Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors hereby appoints KDP as the college's external auditors and approves the 5-year contract extension. Did I read the proper resolution?
Yes, they're called KDP, Certified Public Accountant LLP. That's her formal name.
Okay.
I didn't know that, but yeah, you did it right.
Oh, good.
Okay. Okay, cool. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Erica, seconded by Aaron. Do we have any further discussion? Noting none, all of those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please indicate by saying no or raising your hand. Okay, noting none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Michael. You can breathe in now.
Thank you.
You're done tonight. I think. Okay, so that brings us to the added item that we put on new business, and this is the Pine. And Aaron had asked us to please put an agenda item for the discussion. I think you all have seen the correspondence between Aaron and Laurie about Lapine and what we're doing down there. We had a full report a couple months ago on our activities down there. So I'll turn it over to Aaron, though I will say that my impression, I think, is that there's like some meat there that we might want to discuss, and it might be something we want to discuss at the retreat this summer, which we're trying to schedule, but go ahead.
And I will say, I talked with Joe yesterday about this conversation today, and he was gonna kind of lead into this and sort of set it all up and talk a little bit about what happened in Madras years ago around identifying just a need to grow and what that looked like in community partnerships. And our chair is not here, and so I will launch into this conversation without the benefit of that lead up. So you have seen some of the correspondence between me and Lori, and I think some of this is prompted because of a little more right now, because the Lapine Park and Rec district is offering a space to COCC for rent and or lease, and it raised a lot of questions for me about how we would evaluate whether that is a good idea or an investment that is beyond what we would think is the right decision. And my hope in talking with you all about this tonight is just to get the information that's in my head, kind of out of my head and into yours, around what I've learned about South County and in Northern Klamath counties, some of the trends that I'm seeing there as we think about what is the right way to serve this area of the district. Leasing a space might not be the right answer. I know Anne Marie and Cindy have already been doing quite a bit of work on this. We haven't had a chance to connect on what that is. So not having the benefit of that too, just please know that I'm just sharing information that I have gathered so that we can all talk about this in a broader way. So I put together a very brief little 5-slide deck here between the hours of 3 and 5 p.m. this afternoon. So just caveat there. I'm sure I left a few things out, but in general, I'm hoping we can talk about what is the right way to serve this region. And so your first slide there is just what are we talking about? That's the zone there. And the zone 7 is sort of that bottom area, very large area of our district, serving kind of the South County area specifically is Sun River, Three Rivers, Lapine, Gilcrest, and Crescent. And on your next slide there, I'm hoping to give you just a sense of some of what's happening down there, because I think it's a little different now than it has been ever in the past. Just a few facts here. Lapine is Oregon's newest city. It was incorporated in 2006, and it is the second fastest growing city in the state. About a 9.5% growth rate right now. Right there in Lapine, there's 2,600 folks, but an estimated 25,000 in this South County, Northern Klamath County region. And for comparison, just, not head-to-head comparison here, guys, but just Crook County's population is 25,000. So we're talking about a region that has about the same number as one of our counties in the area. Right in Lapine, there's been 500 housing starts in the last 2 years, which is quite a lot. Think about how many we've had in Bend. We've been really proud to have like 1,000 in the last couple of years, and we've got 500 in Lapine. Their continued rapid growth is really expected there. I have asked the Deschutes County tax assessor to just give us a bit of sense of what our revenues are from the region, but it's really complicated to ask that question because we're not mapped to the same any other district. Our boundaries don't match any other taxing district, so it's hard for us to know. And in fact, as Jen was giving her presentation, you may have the very best data around how many people with your digital, marketing numbers actually live in this area. It's a little hard to get fully accurate population and tax data from this area. And recent labor studies show that there's some really interesting gaps between workforce development needs in Lapine and who's available to serve them living there, and the migration between Bend and Lapine to try to serve the workforce needs down there, particularly around hospitality, healthcare, and construction. So the next little slide here is just some of the, we're talking a lot about momentum, I think, in this region. And I wanted to give you a sense of the regional partnerships and just kind of what's happening down there. So there's a lot of major collaborations and expansions underway. For starters, Lapine has a major visioning process going on right now. They are in the middle, just about to launch into their City of Lapine comprehensive plan update, which will guide all of it for the next 20 years. Sun River is doing a whole new strategic plan and really identifying a number of their anticipated workforce needs, which they, at a recent breakfast, mentioned they're going to be needing to have a lot more workers, including from the Lapine area. The 27,000 square foot Lapine Community Health Center is coming online in the next few years, which will need a lot of folks that are qualified to in CNA positions and other positions like that. COIC has really grown its youth compass program in the Lapine area, and there are now like 30 to 40 youth who have dropped out of Lapine High School who are involved in that program, who are looking for internship work, construction, education, other partnerships in the community. And then finally, there's the Newberry Regional Partnership, which is this multi-year group that's gotten together to really try to guide growth on a regional level down there. And one of the top priorities they've identified and asked folks about in their surveys is a need for more education, and in particular higher education in the area. So when it comes to education in South County, again, I am not nearly the expert that Anne Marie or Cindy would be, and I'm sure that their data is probably much more robust than what I can share here, but here's a few points. So the population in Lapine is faces a lot of challenges. There's a much higher poverty rate in Lapine than other communities in Oregon overall. There's about a 12% poverty rate. In Deschutes County, it's about 9%. Lapine, it's about 15%. And that factors into some of the, according to educators down there, some of the challenges around graduation rates. Families are facing a lot issues getting students to school, keeping students in school, and 59.2% graduation rate in 21-22 scared the living crap out of everyone. That was a really terrible result, one of the worst communities in the state of Oregon in terms of graduation rates. It got better last year with about a 75% graduation rate, but you can see that that is way lower than the rest of the Ben Lapine School District. And the folks at Ben Lapine School District have recognized this. And with this levy that's coming up, CTE is going to be a major focus. And one of the things we know about CTE courses is that there's really double-digit improvements in terms of graduation rates for students who are involved in CTE. Lapine has some CTE programs now that really match up with some of what COCC offers. Early childhood education, metals and welding, natural resource sciences, number of others. And this levy, which is about to become sort of a major talking point in our region over the next few months for sure, and probably beyond that, is investments in CTE programs at Lapine High School will be a real centerpiece of what this levy will provide in order to try to invest in this community to improve graduation rates and access to education. There's other potential CTE programs they're exploring, including some health services stuff in partnership with the Lapine Community Health Center. And just in terms of education investments that are also happening, $300,000 was recently granted to the South County Collaborative. Bruce Abernathy wrote their grant, and the goal of the South County Collaborative is to work with high school students to keep them in school and to assist them to pursue career or college after high school. So there's some challenges in this area when we think about like rural communities that might need access to what the benefits of community college have can provide. This is the profile of a community that might need those partnerships and investments, and others, education partners in the region and the state are seeing that this is a worthwhile investment. So next slide is just, this is the one, guys, where I think I may not be accurately capturing all of the ways that COCC is showing up in Lapine today. But I do want to talk about kind of what is our snapshot there now and what could our future will be. And I say this with like absolutely zero judgment around why we are at whatever level we are now in Lapine. I think COVID was really difficult. We know that there's been kind of a lack of participation in recent years for some of the things we have tried. But, recently at a community forum, leading community education leaders said COCC does not have a presence in Lapine. That's what it feels like down there now to folks in that Newberry region. What we do offer is online. Though there are challenges with high-speed broadband, pretty much outside of Lapine, there are a lot of complaints about broadband not working, and states investing in that, but there is a challenge in accessing online courses for rural communities around the area. We have a 6-unit computer lab at the Lapine Park and Rec. I visited the space. I don't think it's used. No, and it's kind of in a storage room is what the room is really for, primarily, kind of storage. There's an office in there for one of the staffers. It's not being used very much right now. We did have a real lack of attendance in some pilot courses that we offered a few years back, which has led to the decision to not offer additional in-person courses. In recent years, what I heard is that we did not have very much engagement with the high school, but we do offer some college now courses, including Education 101 A and B, Criminal Justice, Judicial Process, Criminal Law, and Hospitality, Tourism, and Recreation. I don't know if those are actually being taught at the high school there. We also, to throw some reference back to Jen's presentation earlier, we have a billboard up in Lapine, encouraging folks to enroll at COCC, and we are doing quite a lot of digital marketing targeting in this region. And there is a college fair this week that I believe someone will be going to.
We have, I mean, we kind of went all over this a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago when Lori gave us the update. And so we also have, I would note, the pilot program starting in the fall with the 2 classes that'll be offered at the high school in the evenings.
So I have to be honest, I didn't know about that. So I'd love to learn more about those classes. Yes, so let's talk more about it.
I mean, I don't want to cut you off, and so I mean, we'll keep going, but it strikes me that this stuff really is stuff that we ought to discuss at a retreat, because I think there's a lot.
I think the question that, the reason that this comes to a head right now is that COCC has this opportunity to ask itself what the role should be. And that is a time delineated question, because we're being offered a space that needs to have a decision made about it within the next month or so. So waiting until summer to answer this question it's a tough one. So I think when I sent that email to Lori asking sort of how will we evaluate that opportunity? They don't come along every day. What I thought I heard Lori saying is, this is new territory. What role would the board like to play in answering the question of our footprint in Lapine? So bringing it to us tonight, I'm attempting to sort of expand like our knowledge as a board about what's happening in this region, what our role could or should be, and so that we can answer Lori's question. What role should this board play in offering any kind of input? And my last slide is just some of those questions for board consideration here. What is our plan for serving South Deschutes and Northern Plymouth? And not necessarily just, a pilot project this fall, but what is the need and what is our strategy for meeting the need? What level of commitment are we seeking from our partners in the area? And how would we go about gathering those for commitments? And what direction should we give Lori around this opportunity? Thanks for letting me take over for a couple of minutes and just elevate this, I hope, to what feels to me like a reasonable level and not beyond that.
So what do you guys think?
I think it's a big subject.
Pardon?
I think it's a big subject. I mean, with what we have going on, it matters with the priority for us. It, it's, I mean, I'm not a baseball guy, but if they build the field and they come, or I just don't know what their need is there, and would our presence bring more people in? You look at those numbers, and it's, college is kind of part of our mission, right? It's so much. I almost from Lori is, I think it's almost a long discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, and there is, right. There is a opportunity to evaluate what the needs are there. And as a board, we've looked at other communities and we've made assessments, and we've all gotten behind supporting things in the community. But I do feel like we could spend some more time and dive in and really have a direction to point the college in that we'd like to see, knowing that then they would, evaluate and operationalize it. So I think it is compelling. The community is growing and there's some really exciting. Health center is so exciting.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So it's like really, I attended is it SLED in Sun River?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was really inspiring. So I think there's a real opportunity there, but I want to know more pieces of information, especially from our side, and put it all together and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like you, I have a feeling we need to be there, but I'm not sure in what form and what percentage, and I need numbers, so I've learned not to trust my feelings, I need numbers.
The comfort of numbers.
Yeah, I just need to look at something.
Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, first, thank you. I learned a lot. There's a lot I don't know about this area and in our email communications, Lauren, provided a lot of questions that the college would ask to assess this opportunity, which also is very reasonable and with the short timeline, like this opportunity is elevating this conversation. If this particular space doesn't work out, this has opened a door to this conversation, which I think is excellent. And if our assessment doesn't match the timeline of that space, that's, it just, the stars maybe didn't align this time. And I suspect there would be other space opportunities, right, to explore if this particular one doesn't work out. But, with the growth of the region and the demographics of the region, and the programming matching up so well to what we're doing here at COCC, we'll see what happens with the levy, but it seems like a lot of synergy for us. So I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you for this. And, I'm not sure our timeline will match up with the Parks and Rec. And at the same time, like, that's okay. That doesn't mean it's off the table, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So my view on this is that, we did identify in our board goals or priorities, Prineville and Lapine as areas that need attention, different things, Prineville, it's optimizing what we have, right? And so, I view going to our policy role, right? I feel like deciding whether we should lease space or not is an operational issue that we shouldn't make that decision. I think that we can discuss more at a retreat or sometime about what we want to see in terms of that, raising of the effort or raising of the effort's the wrong word, energy, on Lapine and Prineville, but I think that it's part of a bigger discussion of understanding our resources, particularly our staff time. And I think that personally, I feel like we sort of need to trust Lori in recommending to us what's the best approach. She knows this is a priority to us. And she knows that, she knows this information. And she will work with her staff in evaluating, deciding whether this is the appropriate or whether this is premature, since we've got, the pilot program going in the fall and, and we don't want to create unreasonable expectations, because I'm very sensitive to, if you open a facility, you better have a plan to make it successful.
Yeah.
Right, so my view is that it's not appropriate for us to make this decision or to even tell Lori how to make a decision, but that it would be appropriate for us to have this as a meatier discussion, sort of a follow-up to raising the issue last summer at our retreat. And, it's not to say that we're going to come out of this telling Lori, you need to do X or Y for Prineville or Lapine, but we're giving her an opportunity to come back and tell us, these are the trade-offs you're going to have to make. And these are the reasons why we should do this, or these are the reasons why we shouldn't do it. So that's kind of my thought.
Yeah, I always worry about staff commitments.
Absolutely.
That's the one that,
I think what I would, when we came away from our retreat last fall, what I regretted not raising at the time was, could we request some kind of analysis from Anne Marie and Cindy or the team, from Lori, that helps us to see what do we think some of the opportunities are, how might we address them. These are some of the risks that we perceive that we would want to avoid. I love that our board will talk again about this, but I think we're getting to, I think we're maybe to a point where we I'm hoping to see some analysis of what our services should be and how we would provide them.
I would suggest that, I mean, if we've got a majority tonight who want to do that, we can ask Laura to do that. What I do worry about is, can we have that done by the retreat and not sacrifice other things? Because it should be really thoughtful and thought through. So I don't know if you.
I feel like it can.
Okay.
We've sent out a lot of dates, June, July, and August, some Friday to see if folks are, so. I know Kyle will do the matchup and see if some dates work for everybody. I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
That'd be great.
And my question, absolutely, do the analysis. Is there,
I want to add prideful to that, by the way.
I'm gonna just not gonna be ready my summer then. We can do that, sure, absolutely. Is there certain data that this board would like to see? In particular, so I know, and we can do our best to get that. So, I mean, y'all don't have to decide tonight, but if you could share that with me, the whole board, and share it with me, then I know what some things you might be interested in.
Okay.
I know the things I'd be interested in.
All I
but
would
there may
ask
be
is
others.
that don't reply all, because we don't want to have any illegal meetings,
Oh,
okay?
Sorry, I don't want to do it.
Fair enough.
So everyone can send, I would say send to Lori and then send to me, because if I'm fortunate enough to be your chair next year, I'll be doing the retreat. So if you would send that to Lori and to me, that would be great.
Do we do an assessment, community assessment on a regular basis? Needs.
We do, there are various ways we do what I would call environmental scanning.
Okay,
One of our action projects is develop, it is called workforce infrastructure. One of the projects is to find a more methodical and consistent way we do that across regions, because it's just kind of a slap shot, but yes, we get from various sources data about demographics, about workforce needs, trends, businesses coming in. So the short answer is yes, but it's not systematic and consistent.
yeah. So do we align ourselves with, do we have meetings like Lapine, and align with what they think is needed, or we just have them with them, Lapine School District? I'm sorry, I'm new to the board. I'm
No,
just kind of,
that's okay. We've never had, in my time here, we've never had those meetings with Lapine. I know there have been some before me. So that's not something we've done, but now, as Aaron said, Anne Marie and Cindy have met with Scott Olszewski, the principal. They're
okay,
going to, I know Cindy's actively meeting. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because she's in the progress of doing her thing. Yeah, I mean, it's about what priorities have been set in the past and then, adding to them as appropriate.
thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate the time, everyone. Thanks for considering it and support Lori leading on this in whatever way she feels is best.
And knowledge of our communities and sharing that with the board is why we represent different areas in the community, so. Okay, so we move on to Board of Directors operations, and our first item is board policy discussion. And you guys may or may not remember, so I'll refresh your recollection that the Policy Review Committee is going to discuss some of our policies that haven't been reviewed for a while. But as one of the first things for the committee, we wanted to see which, if any, of the policies that relate to how we govern ourselves does the board want to revisit, or are there any that you want to revisit, since we have a new board, obviously, this year with 3 new members. And so I thought it would be helpful to highlight just a few sort of key points under our existing policies, because if we're bound to follow them until we amend them. And if we don't like them, we're open to that. And so I guess these are some of the policies that I view as sort of most foundational for the way that we operate. So that's why I wanted to highlight them. And I will say, I don't see anything wrong with them that's glaring to me, but I want particularly you guys as new board members to look at them and to see if you have concerns. So I just kind of want to highlight a few things under these particular policies and then, let me know what, if any, ones that you guys would like to see. So GP2 governing style kind of talks about that combined with GP3, kind of talk about what our roles are as board members, representative of our communities. And I will point out number 3, keep adequately informed about relevant global, regional, and local education or other issues, actively gathering information to fulfill this role, right? So that's a good illustration of how we should be operating. And then I'll also point out that number 5 and 6 and 7, because we want to focus on long-term impacts rather than administrative or programmatic means of achieving those. We want to be an initiator of policy, not merely a reactor to policy, not merely reacting to things that staff may bring to us, though certainly that's part of our role, because they certainly are more educated than us on many of the things that we need to take action on. And then 7, I think, is really important, the expertise of our individual board members to enhance the ability of us to act as a board, rather than substitute individual values for the board's values. Okay, so then the board job description, I would recommend that you read that carefully. I think one thing that's really important to note, and you guys have heard me say this before, if I wrote this policy today, I would put fiscal oversight as number 1. Because I think that's maybe our most important responsibility, but it's certainly in there in number 3 and number 7. And then, of course, we have number 4. It's our, we have one employee, it's the president, and we should be in regular contact with her, which we are, and we do an annual evaluation for her. So I will note number 6, because we have a legislative session, albeit a short one, and I think some folks here on the board did participate by writing letters or by contacting legislators, which is really useful and appropriate. And then I will point out under GP5, this is our board committee principles, and this one is a relatively new policy, and I happen to think it's pretty good, and not just because I was involved in its drafting. But one of the things that we have is number 3, which is the annual review. And so that's when we look at all of the committees at a retreat or at a regular meeting and determine, do we have the right mix of committees? Or do we need to add or subtract committees? So please give that some thought. I think we talked last year about that and said, this is a new policy. I'll kind of give it some thought. So I think I'd like to see that discussion at our retreat, maybe, unless anybody has any objection. Okay. The planning cycle I put there just for your information, but I think it's really important because I've heard a couple of questions from new board members about how do we set the agendas for the upcoming year. And what we do is there's a list of topics that we typically cover every single year. And there's one time we go to each of the outlying communities where we have a facility. And we did talk about going to South County. I think we are going to do that sometime in the not too distant future. But the subjects are pretty regularly covered. Some of them, we don't really have a choice, like, when the budget's going to occur, when the audit's going to occur, when the election of officers is going to occur. A lot of this is prescribed by statute. But then the other topics, we try to make sure that we update on various topics annually. And then as other issues arise, either at the request of the board, in a retreat, or as Lori might indicate, we will add items to the agenda. So we've generally had a pretty open policy. The agenda is generally set by the board chair, but as long as I've been here, the board chair has always been open to adding agenda items if there's something that's of concern. If it is something that's going to take a lot of time, particularly if we have a full agenda, we might ask, do we have a majority who want to hear this, or should we move this to a retreat or something? But generally, we have a pretty open policy. But I just wanted to bring that particular policy to your attention, see if anybody's got any concerns. GP8, I just highlighted that, not because I think that anybody's behaving badly. It's just nice. I think it should be one of our responsibilities to review our code of conduct each year. Then board operations was also updated fairly recently, where we specifically, we had to update this in order to allow for electronic meetings. So that's, I would commend that for your reading. And I would note number 6 is what I was thinking it was in an earlier, that's where we talk about the agenda setting. Anyway, so, and the other thing we updated this with was the naming policy, because we had, I won't call it a kerfuffle, it wasn't quite a kerfuffle, but we had some lively discussions about the naming and who should do naming. And the board decided that we wanted to be ultimately the final party making a decision on naming, but we thought we shouldn't. As we've seen, some things can get controversial, then that's naming something can be one of those things. You can have regrets later, right? So we decided we shouldn't just make that decision. We should have a committee that vets things and makes recommendations to us. So that's all set up in that particular policy, which is GP 9. So I will just commend that to your guys' reading and let me know if there's any of those policies that you think we ought to work on, or that you're bothered by or troubled by and wants the policy review committee to take up. And if there's not, or if there's limited, then we've got some ideas of what we want to take up next, and we'll bring recommendations to you guys. So anybody concerns or?
A point of clarification, the policy committee, it's not, you don't review every single policy every single year.
We generally do not review every single policy every year. It's just beyond the scope of what we can do. So, but our original proposal that we informally adopted a couple of years ago was to try on a 3-year cycle to see that we've gotten to all of them.
Okay.
So it's kind of
It's
a rolling thing.
prioritization.
Yeah, and the way we
Yeah.
do it is very, very systematic. We look and see, this one says last updated by 2015. Oh, so we should look at that
Yeah.
and see if it's okay.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah.
Okay, when would you like thoughts by?
Well, we want to set up a policy review committee for April. And so if you could get it to us before, like say before the end of March, if you've got concerns or suggestions or ideas, could you do that, please?
Mhm.
Okay, and the policy review committee is Erin and Erica and me. All righty, so that is our board policy discussion. Let us go to board member activities, and can we start with you, Erin?
Yes. February 15th, the day after our last board meeting, I attended the foundation meeting as the liaison. I was going to give some updates that Sean provided this evening, which it was awesome. We had a similar report out at that meeting. So really great news from that team. Exciting news is we've entered the vocal phase of the Madras campaign. And so there's a lot of activity, busyness from the advancement crew. We're going to be hosting some house parties to share the vision and the value of the expansion and to cultivate donors and supporters in those smaller, more intimate venues. And then on April 4th at 4 p.m., I hope some of you have your calendars marked for the campaign kickoff up in Madras. So
Thank you for telling us.
exciting. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of details have circulated. Perhaps.
Yeah, that's gone out a lot of places, but we'll send it out even more.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time is that?
It's at 4. 4 at 4.
4.
Oh, I
four.
like it.
And the piece going out from APR, we approved the poster to allow how we'll have and get it out to all of you guys, but
There'll be press and, ads as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also have, like a digital invitation, so if you want that to share with your own networks, we can get that.
Can you send that to all of us?
Yeah,
please?
yeah, that'd be wonderful.
yeah, and I was looking, is it on the dates for on your board packet? Oh, it's not. Okay, well, that's my fault for not seeing that in the, on your agendas.
Yeah, that's why I was kidding. If we could get that electronically done, that would be excellent.
Yeah.
Is there a role that you would like the board to play in participating in one of these house parties or?
I don't think so. You'll get invited to a couple of the more public ones. Thank you, Erin. Right now, the strategy is for the campaign cabinet, that's a special committee of the COCC Foundation to lead that, because it's really fundraising directed, so we can let you, just to be quite candid, I'm always a little leery of you elected officers of that line. So what, and frankly, the other thing is the first couple of house parties, the list of invitees are known to the foundation and to the hosts. So there will be some more public events. This one is one, obviously, that we would love to have yet, because it's
But we're certainly welcome to contribute.
absolutely. We'd love that. And in fact, welcome. Aaron, there's like, we're gonna do a larger, more public type event like that at New Basic Distillery later this summer. And as we get into the fall, there'll be some more public ones. That's a great question. I appreciate it. You may end up on one of those lists from one of our hosts, but we're also letting those hosts provide some of those names, and then we provide some names from the foundation's database as well. Yeah, thanks.
Meal of the year is on April 13th, and last report, it was almost sold out, which is really exciting. I'm not sure what the current tally is there, but it should be a great event. If it's not sold out, get your tickets.
About 20 left,
And, oh,
How many
great.
left?
20 tickets.
Sell them out in
Doing it right now.
And then, that's my foundation report, brief, and then February 20th, I attended the Black Joy event as part of the season. Yeah, it was great. That's it from me.
Jim,
I attended the, on the 4th, I attended the EDCO event on Crook County. Representing the COCC. Really good, had a lot of good information on how much Crook County is growing, where the momentum is, where the job needs are. It was really interesting.
Aaron.
Sure, on February 27th, the Sun River Lapine Economic Development Organization got together with the Lapine Chamber for a joint breakfast at Sun River, and it was really, really fun. County commissioners came, and just that was a great event. A lot of business owners there, so talking about South County. February 28th, the next day, there was, I went to the Lapine High School Site Council. They are changing their schedule around next year, which will allow them to take more electives, and many of their students, they're going to try to push taking some of our classes as part of those electives, which is pretty cool. On March 8th, the College Affairs Committee got together, and something that they're doing right now that's just really interesting is a proposal from Anne Marie is brought to this group. They created a task force to investigate how COCC will adapt, rework our policies around AI, including how students will engage with this, and education will be delivered. So those folks have a really interesting task ahead of them, and really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. And then I'm excited to get down to Lapine again this Friday for the Lapine Chamber Breakfast, which is the joint event with the Lapine High School Career and College Fair. But a lot of miles.
Erica.
So I attended the OSU Cascades Advisory Board meeting on the 7th. But I was sort of like a lurker. They gave me a call-in number because I had to call in, and then I couldn't figure out how to get off mute. So I was like texting, but Lori gave a wonderful update. I got to hear that. You gave a summary of our, no, I'm blanking the recent state of the college. There we go. I got it.
Major points. Yeah.
Major points, yep. And even when you said it again, even though I've heard it, it was still very, very exciting. And then the rest of the meeting was talking about the strategy of OSU Cascades, how to meet their enrollment goals for 2030, and conversations. There are individual breakout committees that are working on things related to community engagement and like answering the needs of the workforce. And so a lot of good work going on in that meeting. I wish I could have been there to actually participate, but I didn't get to hear it all. So thank you. That's it.
On March 1st, I had a call with Lori to get updated because I was gone for basically a month. On the 8th, I had the Friday meeting with Joe and Lori. On the 11th, I had a call with Erin M, going back to school, Erin M and Erin FM. On the 12th, I had a call with Erica, and then on the 12th, I also had a call with Lori. And on the 13th, I had a call with Jim Porter. And then the coolest thing, not to denigrate my conversations with y'all, but the coolest thing is that last year for Meal of the Year, Chef Thor and I put together a package for the live auction, which was a dinner, food pairing, wine and food pairing. And we got to do it March 3rd. It had to be rescheduled 3 times because of COVID and Snowmageddon and all of this stuff. But it was a fabulous time. I was just talking to Zach about it because it was a really cool group. It was a number of people who are big time supporters of COCC historically, which was especially nice. And Chef Thor did a fabulous, amazing job. And he told me that he was going to have 3 students assisting. And mind you, this dinner is only 12 people. He said he'd have 3 students assisting. And when I showed up that day, there were actually 5 students because he just told his class that if anybody would like to volunteer, he'd love, these were foundation donors, and he had 5 students show up, which I thought was pretty amazing. And they came in at 1 in the afternoon and didn't leave until 10 at night. So that was a pretty phenomenal, I thought, dedication. I gave all the students a bottle of wine to thank them because they were all over 21. I confirmed that before I did it. Before I did it, they were 21, all of them.
Thank you.
Every one of them. I wasn't gonna do that. But anyway, it was a really cool, really inspiring event. Chef Thor, y'all need to give him a shout out if you see him or talk to him because he just puts in a ton of work and he's dealing with some back issues right now. So that was all the more impressive. He's gonna be on sabbatical the next year. So he and I are not gonna do it again this year, but he's a tremendous resource for our community. And you can tell the students just respect the heck out of him and like him too, which is pretty nice. Okay, I will shut up on that now. So we are to the president's report. Dr. Chesley.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about enrollment and then the legislative session, which just ended. Our point in time enrollment for the upcoming spring term as of last Monday in full-time equivalent students, we're up 11.7%. And head count, we're up 9.8%.
Man.
And I also say those are going to fluctuate, but we're going in the right direction, which is a good thing.
It's a great thing.
It's a great thing. As you know, the short session in Salem just ended. And there were really 2 primary initiatives that the Oregon community colleges were interested in and on which OCCA represented us. And both of those efforts they passed. The first one was in relation to the Oregon Opportunity Grant, which is the largest need-based grant program in the state. And what OCCA and the community colleges wanted to have happen is that determinations about who would be eligible for that grant and any changes to that eligibility would now go through not just one office, but charged with that task, but that it would actually be a consideration of the HEC, the Higher Education Coordinating Commission, because I don't think it's surprising. Obviously, the community colleges have a strong interest in that money going to our students because we cost a lot less and our students tend to have really significant need. So it's important that the rules governing that grant are what we think they should be, right? And then OCCA supported the creation of a study group on co-requisite education in math. And this group, composed of many people, faculty, students, administrators, you name it, is going to study how the state might best support and accelerate the transition of math curricula across the state into a model that is a co-requisite model that includes a level of student support, often a co-requisite class, taught with every developmental math class. This method has been, strategy has been in the national research shown to be very effective. And so this work group is to study that and figure out how they can support a transition to that model or ones very like it in the state. So 3 things in the legislature, which led me to a fourth thing. And I know you've all held on to this. I know you have, Laura. In the last legislative session, the long session, one of the laws passed was that all boards would be required to undertake training on the public meetings law
Mandatory
and the
training.
changes.
Yes.
And so pop back in my head, I emailed Karen Smith at OCCA and I said, where is that? The OGEC wants to create required training and they want boards to take that training. And they want to develop a process by which they will evaluate any other training to see if it meets their needs. OGEC says they will have the training ready sometime this spring and that they'll have a process to review other curricula late in 2024. So no one has missed anything. We will make sure the training happens. But it's not ready yet, which isn't entirely surprised. I don't think Karen was entirely surprised. So.
Thank you for that.
I'm
Thank you.
keeping
You
an
know,
eye
I
on it.
asked you about that.
No,
because
we need to keep an eye on it, and that's important. So, yeah, so I thought.
Thank you. I
I'll look at
appreciate
it.
that.
And that's why I'm for it.
I very much appreciate that.
Quick training question.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Credit rating?
Oh. AA,
Oh.
standard course.
Yep.
Renewed. I did put that in my update, as I said. I would. So everybody, let's see,
You know, back to the earlier discussion about, we need to celebrate. the things we're
Celebrate it.
doing right too, not
Thank
just focus on the things we need to
Yeah.
do more of or better of or whatever.
Yeah.
Celebrate, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very cool thing.
Great job.
And, yeah, and we are glad to have Michael here. He's doing a fantastic job. And, you know, I'm glad that he's funny too. Very high standards.
That's what it is. We appreciate a little bit of humor. Aaron, you had a question or comment on Sadie?
I just remembered that we many meetings ago talked about a DEI training, speaking of trainings. Is that something that we can possibly get into?
So,
sometime
sorry,
later?
you go.
So, yeah, so, yeah, it's something that we're planning for the retreat this summer.
Sure.
Yeah. It is something, I know that you guys are feeling like it's ignored, I think, a little bit, but it's not. We did 2 of them, before the pandemic. We did one during the pandemic and we did one a year or so before the pandemic. So our view of it, the previous board's view of it was that it's a continuing thing, right? You don't get trained and you're done, right? And so we didn't schedule anything before now because we kind of had quite a bit on our plate. But it's something that we sort of earmarked for this summer. And Erin and I happened, that was the reason that she had called me, was to have a discussion about, are we going to do some DEI training? And so I've talked to Lori and we're working on something. It's not going to be like an all day, which the previous 2 have been. It's going to be probably an hour to 2 hours at our retreat, but thinking it's an ongoing thing, right? I mean, it's not a one-off and we're done. So,
It was
And I-
3 years ago that we read cast and then we did a conversation with Board Member Christie, because Linnea was like this big. No, she's.
And now she's back.
Which is, listen.
And you're not show and tell, so we
Yeah.
can tell us, you can see how long it's.
And I did, at your request, double check with Christy that she's available to do that
And
and
willing.
eager to do that and willing. And I specifically mentioned, because I mentioned, I recall that it was mentioned by board members, a training in allyship for the LGBTQ community. And so we're working on that, and as soon as we can get a date, we'll nail it down.
That was particularly something that we discussed after the kerfuffle last spring.
Yes.
So I like that.
Thank you
Oh,
for bringing that up.
I'm sorry.
Kidding you, I'm totally.
No, but I appreciate you,
Yeah.
but I appreciate you specifically mentioning
Yeah.
that to her.
It
And
is.
she's all good.
She is all good. I didn't think she is not timid. And if there's a different training that people would prefer, let me know.
And does she have recommendations? Because I know there's been a lot of talk about like ableism or what's kind of a big topic on campus right now. That would be interesting to hear what the conversation is around.
Yeah, I know she's recently done some training on ableism, so I can ask. Again, it is what you would like to do.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be good to get Christie's. She might have something that she was like, the board needs to learn this. Like, we will listen to Christie.
Yeah, I think we're open for training, particularly since, we're looking at this and, please let her know, we're looking at this as not a one-off. Yeah. She may have an idea of sort of like a progressive course, catalog.
Well, I even mentioned her, they'd like to look at about a 2-hour window. And I mentioned allies and allyship. And she said, well, maybe 2 hours foundational, and then we'll do another 2 and get into it more deeply. And that's Christy. She is unafraid, right? Unafraid to say, and we love that. And she's good at her job.
That's fine. So, yeah. Thank you for following up on that. Thank you for the question.
Oh, thanks for, yeah.
Okay, so then we move to a few dates. And Tuesday, April 9th is, we have an event at Willie Hall, an evening with author TJ Klune, and this is part of the Season of Nonviolence. On March 24th, of course, winter term ends, spring break is April 1. The Real Estate Committee via Zoom, Student Success Committee, and then, of course, our next Board of Directors meeting is in April, and as we already mentioned earlier, Meal of the Year, but you can never mention it too often.
That's right.
Right,
Thank
exactly.
you.
Only 26 tickets left, did you
I
say?
mean, we'll call it that.
What is it to now?
I
Announce
just-
it.
I
Are we
don't
selling out?
It's not real time like that.
Oh, dang it.
We'll make room for any board member who wants.
And also, I've seen them like on occasion squeeze another chair.
That's kind of where we are, yeah. It's
So
all good. Thank you.
it's not a solid, sort of like SRO, right?
Well, if you want to come and enjoy and donate money, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It'll make it easy. There will be a whiskey lounge.
Okay, does anyone, and I apologize earlier that I forgot to mention that Alan did send an email saying that he and his wife are on vacation and we needed him for quorum. He was willing to participate via Zoom, but there was a big time difference and he was hoping not to. So, and as I said, Joe was ill, so they both were willing to come if we needed them for quorum. So I'm grateful for that. Anything else that needs to come before the board?
Thank
If
you for
not,
leading us, Laura.
Thank you,
Thank
Laura.
you. Yes.
Appreciate it.
4th time.
Oh, it's the 3rd. Is it the 4th?
Be sure it's the 4th.
Okay, well, everybody, thank you for that. Everyone have a great evening and we'll see you next month, if not before.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
Guys, we're so welcome here tonight. He did such